Hey everyone, Shane at Moto Solutions. Today I have a 2015 R1M. This is Yamaha's flagship superbike. Comes stock with aftermarket rims. I believe they're magnesium. Comes with full Öhlins suspension front and rear. This bike has been modified. It's got some aftermarket drop-ins, so it's more adjustable for track. This is a track bike. It's got a TTX rear shock. Got some chain adjusters, an SC project pipe on this, some rear sets. Really cool track bike. As you can see, GPAs, Dunlops. Definitely a track bike. Today what I'm going to do is change the spark plugs. If you're not a seasoned mechanic, I definitely wouldn't try that. Spark plugs are very difficult. There's so many things that can go wrong. If you cross thread a spark plug, you're probably looking at a new head for your motor, which is pretty costly. So let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to use the 5mm Allen. You have 2 bolts under the seat here. And these bolts generally will stay with the seat. And make sure you get the 5mm ones, not the 4mm. There's 3 separate screws under here on each side. You want to make sure you get the seat ones. Once we do that, we're going to pull it up. This one's not done. We're going to pull it up and pull it back. You want to make sure you don't scratch any of this stuff back here. Put that aside. Then you have your side covers right here. These are your 4mm. And we're going to slide that forward. This little piece right here fits into here. Then you have a piece here that fits into here. And if you ever have to replace these bolts, you make sure they're the OEM ones because they are a certain length. And if you buy too long of ones, they will actually go into your tank, and I've seen tanks start leaking gas. We want to take these, put these aside. And then we're going to go up to the front. And we have a 5mm bolt right here in the front of the tank. And that's an Allen. Pull that off, set that off to the side. Now that I have all the screws out of the airbox should just lift up. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug all these injectors, because I'm going to lay this off to the side with your fuel line in it. I just don't like to unhook the fuel line as little as possible because gas gets everywhere. If you can do it without it, great. If you need to take it off, then take it off. I usually will just unplug the injectors. First thing I'll do is I'll mark one of the injectors. They're all numbered. Right here you'll see they're numbered, but already someone's done it. This is number 4 right here. So I'm just going to put number 4 on that one. It's just a good reference. You always want to make sure you plug them in the same way. There's a factory tie right here. Just want to pull up on that. And the way this works, it's kind of confusing when you first get to these things. There's a little tab right here. You pull this up and it slides out. It's kind of a reusable zip tie, which is kind of cool. I'm going to put that aside. There you go. Okay. And then I'm going to put this off to the side there. I'm going to take the airbox. and just set it off to the side here. Now that I got the airbox lid off, we're going to have to get these Allens that are right down here. There's one on each intake, and they're diagonal. Have one down here. And there's two on each intake. So we definitely want to pull those off, and that should allow us to get to the bottom of the airbox. Now I'm going to start pulling out the 5mm Allens. Now that all the Allens are loose, I'm going to come over on this side, which is the right side of the bike. And this is your oil breather hose. We also have one here. This is another oil breather. And this one is also a clamp. Pull this one off. We're going to pull the velocity stacks. Now we have a connector here. Want to disconnect that. We have an 8mm here, and this is an air intake. We're going to pull this off. We're going to put that aside. And then a quick note, this right here, this rubber piece, and there's actually a hose that goes into the bottom of this air duct. This hose piece on the bottom is a pull-out piece. So you just pop it out. It's a little intimidating at first, but it does pop out. As you can see, there's a hole in there, then the tab is down here. It's on your air pump. So now let's get to the spark plugs. Your spark plugs are right here, starting with number 1, which is right here on your left side. 2, 3, 4. They have clips on them. I don't know if you can hear this, but push down on the tab. There you go. And it should come right off. Now that I have the spark plug coils unplugged, I'm going to pull them out. So we have 2 clamps here. This is another oil breather. This has to do with your smog. This, by the way, if you put the block off plates on here, it keeps your bike from doing that backfiring thing under deceleration. So we're going to pull these off. Those pop off and get that out of the way. Just makes it a lot easier to get the plugs out without this thing there, because it cuts up your hand. And what I'll usually use is I take this piece of wire, and this is conduit, I believe. It's copper wire. And what I'll do is I'll put it around that end, hold on to it at the same time, twist, and pull. Makes it a lot easier. You don't want to do any damage to this piece right here, because otherwise it's not going to work properly. Now that I have the coils off, I'm going to pull the plugs out. In this particular bike, it takes a 14mm. I'm just using a long socket. Usually they're bigger than this, but for some reason these are smaller. So it's a 14mm. I have a regular extension, a swivel extension, and probably like a 12-inch extension. First thing I'm going to do is put my extension on the 14 millimeter. You want to get it in there. And you want to loosen them all first before you pull them all out. You're definitely going to need this swivel. Now that they're all loose, what I'll do is I'll take the extension with the swivel and the 14 millimeter. You're not going to be able to get that out. I'm going to put the extension on. That way I can just twist it. Just makes it a lot easier. Go to the next one. And you'll feel them getting really loose. All right, now that they're all pretty much out of their holes, we're going to take a magnet, telescoping, pull out the plugs. This would be your number 4. Doesn't look too bad. Tannish brown. It's not white. We definitely don't want to see that white or completely soot black or wet. So that looks pretty good. Okay, that would be your number 2. You just want to visually inspect these. As you can see, they're kind of rusted on the top, so probably pretty much time to change them. This bike, I believe, has about anywhere from between 10 to 12,000 miles on it. So I'm going to pull the rest of those out, and then let's put some new ones in. On this 14 millimeter socket, usually there's a rubber piece that goes in here that holds the spark plugs in. I don't have that at this point. I'm going to have to try to find one. I've never really found anything that small because they're usually, you know, a lot bigger sockets. So what I'm going to do with my fingers is I'm going to take them and put them in the holes and hold on to them. Just kind of slip them down to the bottom down there. You know, we don't want these things to drop down there because we don't want to ruin these gaps right here. And what I'll do is carefully put the socket in, and you'll feel it. You'll feel it go onto the actual spark plug. And then I'll start twisting by hand. Be very, very careful. If it gets tight right away, it means it's not threading in there properly, so definitely don't force that because that could cost you a motor. And on the side ones, I'm going to use the extension. It's just really tight in there. Okay. So those are all good. And that's it. That's how you replace the spark plugs. Subscribe to my channel. Any likes, comments, anything you got. Thanks very much. Thanks for watching.